Welcome, everyone, to NuPath Live. Today is January 14th, 2021, and this is our weekly broadcast regarding information that we believe is important for all of you to know and issues or areas of interest. I want to begin today by telling you a story that I remember my father telling me as a very young boy. And I think at the time we had a book, and I couldn't find it online, but I kind of created my own for you called Dr. Jenner, the Milkmaid and the Speckled Monster. And this was about it was indirectly about the smallpox devastation, this pandemic that ruled the globe for centuries. In fact, some people believe that it existed in culture as long ago as some of the Egyptian dynasties. But this was a disease that killed millions and millions of people, highly, highly contagious, and even as late as the end of the 1700s, there were no cure and no treatment for it. And so Dr. Jenner, the story goes, I remember my dad telling me, is Dr. Jenner happened to notice that that milkmaids that worked in the milking the cows, who had been exposed to a disease called cowpox, which was similar to smallpox but not deadly in that way, that these milkmaids were seemed to be immune. They did not come down with the devastations of smallpox. And so he began to think about, well, maybe there's something there to it. So he had the idea, and it was actually, he violated every ethical normative standard that we have today, but he decided to inoculate essentially the child of the story goes of one of his gardeners, and this young man got some minor symptoms, but later on then when he was inoculated, he put the actual smallpox virus into him. He did not get the terrible disease, and that is why he is considered to be now at this point in time the father of modern immunology, as we know it today. In fact, Greg was just mentioning earlier that Thomas Jefferson had said something about Jenner doing more to save the world and letting the populations be free from this. In fact, I think the World Health Organization said that is 1977, I believe it was. Don't quote me on that, but that we had eradicated the world from smallpox. Now we have COVID-19. There are currently, as we speak right now, as we're doing this broadcast, 385,000 people dead in the United States. I remember Dr. Anthony Fauci, talking about reaching the $400,000 marker for dead people. This is back, late, sometime in the fall. And I found it hard to believe. And here we are. Here we are at the footsteps. But the positive news is that we are also really into the vaccine. And even though there's been all kinds of reports about having a very slow start, not reaching some of the expectations early on for the number of Americans vaccinated, things are starting to ratchet up. And we've talked here on this broadcast about what that means and some of the hopeful expectations that we have. Matt Johnson, who has been spearheading our Vaccine Advisory Council, is joining me today, and he is going to be updating us on what the most recent advisory guidelines have been from the state and how we are preparing for that. We had a meeting just earlier this morning with our extended leadership team. These are all the managers, directors, everybody that's in a leadership position within the organization, and we dedicated nearly a full 2 hours to talking about this and trying to make sure that when our day comes, which still looks to be the 29th for the vast majority of people associated with NuPath, that we're all ready and prepared, and that we will be getting this vaccine, including any kind of education that we may or resource that we can offer our programs if there are staff that have reservations or questions that need to be addressed. So I'm going to ask Matt to join us now and to give us an update on where things stand. Welcome, Matt. It's good to see you.
Hi, Dan. Good to see you too.
Now, you've just been through this before because I heard you do it when we were meeting with during our business meeting. But I wonder if you could, provide everybody watching right now kind of an update on where things are. I know you can't get super specific because things are still changing. Our date isn't until 2 weeks from Friday, but we're hopeful that during that time that other agencies that are already engaged with the vaccine process, they'll be learning ways to perfect this. Can you tell us where we are and what we need to know?
Yeah, the news is good that we are moving forward with the vaccine and that we've gotten a date of the 22nd of January for one of our first houses. So it'll be for those staff that work in that program and for the people that are supported in that house. They will get the vaccine on that date. And then a vast majority of our houses and the staff that work in those programs will get the vaccine on the 29th. We are getting the vaccine through Walgreens, and it will be the Pfizer vaccine. And it is part of the federal program that we talked about before. Once they finish working on the skilled nursing facilities and the nursing homes, they contacted us and said it's time for congregate care, and we were able to register, go through the process and register those homes to get the vaccine. It's not everyone, but there are going to be other options that we're going to access as well for additional people to get access to the vaccine. But for now, it is the staff that work in those homes, our employees that have contact with those homes, and the people that live in those homes.
Mm-hmm. Now, if a family member were to say, "Hey, can I show up at one of these locations? Could I get a vaccine?" As much as we'd like to, what's the answer to that?
Well, the quick answer is no. I'd love to make that happen for everyone, and I know people would like to have access, but the answer is no, because really these vaccines that we're getting are targeted for particular groups, and the Walgreens needs to report back the names of those people, and those are reported back to the state of Massachusetts and the federal government so that they can then identify that they were connected to congregate care. I do know that day programs will come up in phase 1, stage 6. So there are day options for people that come to day programs and staff that work in day programs only to get it a little bit later on. But as you know, many of our day program staff are working in the houses or are on call to work in those houses. So many of our day program staff will be receiving it because they're already there in the houses.
Matt, we've been hearing reports in the news recently about the percentage of people, and certainly not, I hate to do generalizations, but people that are of immigrant in our immigrant community. These are primarily, we've got, I think it's in 67% of our employees are originally from an African country or from Haiti, and that oftentimes these sort of enclaves of people can have resistance to or distrust in the vaccine process, as well as many African Americans that have been victim of all kinds of, governmental, mistreatment in the past. However, we know that in order for us to have any hope of coming back to a point where we could re-engage with some sort of normal rhythm of treatment and programming, we're going to need to get, I think it's still around 85% of people really we're hoping get the vaccine. What can you say about that, or how can we provide more information or help in this, help people get a better understanding?
Yeah, I think there's information out there for people. I think you can talk to your doctor. You can talk to a variety of different professionals that work in the medical field. And then I think, there's information out there from professionals that people can seek about side effects, about, the the risks of taking the vaccine or the risks of not taking the vaccine. And those are certainly resources people should educate themselves with. We definitely can provide that information. We have information from Pfizer, information from Walgreens, and some other sources as well. And I know we'll provide that to our staff.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the fears people have and people accepting the vaccine or seeking out the options to take it, I will tell you that we are actively in the process of talking to the individual. If the vaccine becomes available to you, are you going to give us, are you going to get the vaccine? So yes or no. And the majority of staff have said yes. The majority of people getting tested have said yes, they will get the vaccine. So I think our response as a company may be different than what the general population or others people's are. But I guess I would, I wouldn't want to downplay the fears that people have. I think those are real because they're real historical experiences and real experiences for particular people. And while those exist for us, I would hope that people would do the process of educating themselves and look at whether it's an opportunity for them to take advantage of. We are lucky to have access to the vaccine at this early time. I was just on a transition meeting with a school who provides residential and day services, and they don't have access yet. They're still working and ironing out some of the process to get access to the vaccine. And I can tell you, when they heard we were getting it on the 22nd and the 29th, they would like to jump in with us. They definitely would like access quicker. And I think people should take advantage of those opportunities when they arise. And, as we've talked about before, if you don't take advantage of this opportunity now, there will be other opportunities. It just may not be as quick as you might like it. It may be, if you're looking for the general population, maybe that's April or May or into the beginning of the summer. So, I hope people take the opportunity to do that education.
As we said this morning, Matt, if you're somebody that's trying to weigh the decision and you say, well, there could be, side effects to getting the vaccine. Well, yeah, there are. We're not gonna lie and say there aren't any side effects. You could have aching around the point of the injection. You may feel a little under the weather for a couple of days. Maybe you'd have a little fever and chills or whatever, but nothing in comparison to, I don't know, being dead. And this is so this disease is so devastating because I think in some ways the inconsistency, some people will get it, they may be older and they'll be fine. Maybe they don't even have any symptoms. And then somebody that's much younger and in perfect health, like me, I'm kidding. But people that might get it may be devastated and impacted by it, or be on life support, or in some other way be out of commission for a long time. So I think if given the choice, I'd much rather have the localized pain, maybe a little discomfort for a day or two, but feeling like we're getting a second chance on this. And we talked again this morning about, but it's something to just get in people's heads, that just because we get the vaccine doesn't mean that we're going to stop wearing masks, that we can stop observing the social distancing and other protocol. And we answered the question that if you've had COVID-19 already, you still need to get the vaccine. That this is something that we're hearing from the experts, that it is recommended that people do. Are there any other sort of key notes that you think are important for people to be aware of? Oh, and it looks like we're going to get the Pfizer vaccine. Is that right?
Yes, one of the bits of information for people is that we are getting the Pfizer vaccine. It does look like as we start to access other options beyond Walgreens, we may get the Moderna vaccine. As we talked about today, there are other vaccines in process that may become available later on. Possibly one vaccine that is a single dose rather than two, but those options aren't available yet. And, hopefully they will become available soon. Some of the other things that we talked about was, in general, about the safety and side effects. And when we had those conversations, it was important, I think, for people to be able to ask questions. And one question was about, as you said, if I've had COVID-19, should I get the vaccination? And I think the answer is pretty clearly yes, that all of the information we know is that the immunity from having COVID-19 lasts for anywhere from weeks to maybe 5 to 8 months seems to be the maximum. So if you've had COVID-19, it doesn't mean you don't have to get the vaccine. But getting the vaccine will provide you that additional kind of layer of immunity and safety around the exposure.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we talked about as well is it guaranteed that if I get the vaccine that day of the first dose, I won't get COVID? And the answer is no. That first dose really primes your immunity, and the second dose kind of provides a much stronger immunity. But when you get that first dose, there's no guarantee that somewhere after that you won't get COVID-19 if you're exposed. And then even after the second dose, they state, much like the flu vaccine, that there's still a chance you could get it. And definitely is not as a big a chance that you'll get it. And then the outcome of getting the flu when you get the flu vaccine is usually less. And it's the same with COVID. They said that, the information seems to be pretty clear that if you've gotten the vaccine and you contract COVID, that your symptoms will be significantly less than they would have been had you not gotten the vaccine. So, there's certainly reason there to get the vaccine, but stay cautious. We're not going to let our guard down.
There have been a lot of legal sort of conversations happening around whether or not companies, institutions can mandate something like the vaccine for COVID-19. And while it is not yet clear exactly where legal experts are or how they're falling down on which side of this, many companies have begun to create policies that state that their employees must be vaccinated. We are in a health crisis unlike anything that we have ever experienced in our lifetimes, and it is imperative that we are all doing our part to make sure that we're getting the vaccine, that we're observing the protocols and so forth. So and people that have a deep reluctance, or maybe even if it's a mild distrust, or people that are feeling, well, I don't want to get it so soon, or I don't want to be the first to get it, I'll wait. People can make their choice in how they choose to live their life, but we at NuPath are going to be really heavily sort of encouraging full compliance with this. We are going to be using ways to manage and kind of understand who's been vaccinated and who is not. If there's a number of staff that refuse to, then it may limit them in some of their assignments. And we're looking to kind of find ways to notify the public that they're entering a vaccine sort of space, that anybody that enters into this house or into this location needs to be vaccinated in order to come in. So these are all things that we're doing. My message to people this morning was, look, if you've got a strong reluctance, or if you don't think you're going to get it for one reason or another, it's on you to look into this and get some information. We're gonna do as much as we can to help educate staff. In fact, I should mention that we've asked Bessie Simba to join our vaccine advisory council, and we're currently talking about ways with her that she could reach out to our various communities and possibly be a face they can trust and understand, or ask their questions. But at the end of the day, if people make the decision not to get vaccinated, or if there are families out there that say they don't want their kids vaccinated, there may be consequences. It's beyond the fact that they're going to continue to be at risk for this deadly disease. And I just wanted to just be very clear as an organization. There should be no ambiguity whatsoever on where we stand on this. We are standing with science, with data, and with a medical community that, yes, it was developed quickly, but we have every reason to believe that it's safe and will be effective for all of us. I don't know if you have anything else to add in that, but I feel pretty strongly. I get a little fired up about this when I hear about people that are resisting this. Is there anything else you can say to people now that might sort of put their minds in the right headspace, or what would you like to leave with?
I think I would leave with, one, seems very clear that many of our doctors, our first responders, are the leaders of our country. Many people have already gotten the vaccine, and they started getting it in December. And for us to look at, I guess if you're going to look at just the process, the vaccine has initially at least proven safe. People have had it now for almost a month and are doing extremely well. In terms of that thought of, am I going to get the vaccine? I'm definitely getting the vaccine. And people I talk to are getting the vaccine. Friends and family are getting the vaccine. And I feel like, it is an opportunity for us. And if you need to do that self-education and get online, talk to your friends and family, get information from medical professionals. Those are the people, the scientists and medical professionals, that are going to give you the details that you need to know. Don't get your information from social media.
Facebook's not a good place to go to read everything you can find.
Not a great place, not a great option. Check your sources and get good information, and I think you'll be happy with what you hear.
Yeah. Well, Matt Johnson, you're terrific. Thank you so much for the work you're doing to help, guide us through this process. This has been, the largest, public health initiative that we've ever, experienced in this country. And, to get the millions and millions and millions of doses into people is nothing short of daunting. But I think we're going to see things start to speed up as we kind of hammer out some of these little sort of friction points. And we're really glad that we have you kind of helping lead the way. Thank you so much for all you're doing for NuPath.
Thank you, Dan.
All right. Thanks very much. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. It was great to see Matt today. A couple of other notes for staff that are listening. I wanted to just let you know that we have concluded our CARF survey. Most of you who are connected with the organization know of CARF. This is the international accrediting body. We go through this once every 3 years, and it is a kind of an intensive review of all of our systems, our policies, procedures, safety protocols, quality of programming, and so forth. And there's a lot that you can't see with the naked eye when you're talking about an organization, whether they're good or not. And each time that we go through a successful, or I should say highly successful CARF survey, I feel reassured because, believe it or not, I'm not spending my time going through records to see if progress notes are up to date or we have all the fire extinguishers are current. But it gives me a lot of reassurance when we've been through one. And these are the people that are going into the in-depth kind of review that's so critical to a well-run organization. And congratulations to Ted Horn and the entire team of people that worked in the shadow of this pandemic to get through this, and to do it in a virtual format was pretty incredible. So great job, everyone, on that. The other thing that I thought I'd mention, we're closing the books on our on 2020 right now as we speak. It usually takes us about 30 days or so to wrap up any bills that are coming in and to pay them off and to look at what our bottom line, what our numbers look like financially. And it is a testament to the hard work of our business office and our finance department and our contracts and billing that we are going to be ending this year on a positive note. Guys, there were days early on when I wondered if we were going to be able to pay any of our bills through the end of December. Not only did we get through it in a positive financial way, but with a teeny tiny little bit of a surplus at the end, which is always a good thing. And that is spectacular news to me. Now, next year presents a new challenge. A lot of the money that we were able to get through the PPP loans, some of the Medicaid relief funds, and some of the other things that were available this past year will not be, or right now we don't know if they will be. So we are still looking at at least a couple of quarters of significant, what's the technical term? Nail biting. It's going to be a little tricky as we try to get into this year and try to see things back to normal. But we are fully confident that as more and more of us get vaccines, as more and more of our families feel comfortable sending their people in, and as transportation routes are able to get back up and running to full capacity, that we'll be able to resume our more normal billings and be able to hopefully return to the level of high performance that we've always been in the past. It's been a tough year, guys. There's no denying that. And I myself have struggled from time to time feeling fatigued and like I can't stand, put a mask on one more second. But the resilience of the employees of this organization, of the people that we serve, and families have been great. Do you know that we raised over $100,000 in our walk fund, even though we didn't have to walk, and even though we have been talking about it, even though I haven't been climbing on rooftops and doing crazy things, and we get donations for families nearly every day that just blow my mind. So to our families out there, we are so grateful, and it makes a huge difference. And we're gonna do this. We are doing this. Last thing, because I'm committed to trying to keep these to no more than 30 minutes going forward. It's our new thing. Um, we had a question that was put to some small groups this morning that if this pandemic were a high rise, a 100-story high rise, with the ground floor being, kind of where we all were in March when we were hit with this, and the 100th floor, maybe the penthouse suite being maybe when things look really normal. We asked people to tell us what floor they thought the elevator would be on. And I felt like we'd be on the 60th or 70th floor, maybe the 70th. We're not at the top yet, but we're close up to the top that we might be able to even walk the stairs remaining to get there. So I'm feeling very encouraged by this, and I think you all should be too. We gotta stay focused, get this vaccine, and kick this virus out for good. We got this, guys. I know we do. Thanks for everything you're doing, and we'll see you soon. Talk to you later. Bye bye.